I think that I am going to stop making predictions on how many goals are going to be scored in a game because apparently I keep getting them wrong. We're going to talk about last night's game against the Ottawa Senators, and we're going to check in on our third first-round pick of last draft, Corson Ceulemans, and see how his season ended at the University of Wisconsin. That is all coming up today on Locked On Blue Jackets.
Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, the Blue Jackets lose 2-1 in a shootout against the Ottawa Senators. Blue Jackets drop to, I believe, 4-3 on shootouts in the season. It sure was a game of hockey that was played. I was actually listening to the episode I did this morning, about how much of a chaos mess game this was going to be. And honestly, I kind of got it half right, I think. It was a very kind of chaotic and incompetent game, but there wasn't nearly as much mess as I hoped. So we're going to talk about that before we get started. This is, of course, Locked On Blue Jackets. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Jay Foster, and I am super glad that you are here with me as I rant about just how incompetent the last 65 minutes of Blue Jackets hockey were, because it was a whole lot. Like I said, they dropped the game to the Ottawa Senators 2-1 in a shootout. They were one thing up with, I believe, 8 minutes left in the game. They allow a goal, and that's kind of the end of the game. It's not really the end of the game, but it was, considering they had a pretty strong start, it did go extremely downhill. Jack Roslovic scores his 20th of the season. I talked about this on Twitter a little bit. He's the fourth Blue Jackets player to hit the 20-goal mark this season. The last time the Blue Jackets had more than two 20-goal scorers in a season was the 18-19 season, where they had 7. However, I am including Matt Duchene and Ryan Zingle in that, both of whom were trade deadline pickups and therefore probably did not score all 30 of their goals with the Blue Jackets. But they still had 5 20-goal scorers that were with them for the entire season. So first time that's happened in a while. First time the Blue Jackets have had 4 20-goal scorers since then. There's still a chance that they could hit 5. Gus Nyquist is sitting on 17 goals on the season. And then I believe beneath that is Cole Sillinger. So unless Cole Sillinger goes crazy and scores 6 goals in the last 5 games of the season, or last 4 games, then we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think Gus Nyquist could do it. There's still plenty of time left to do that. The Blue Jackets have got 4 games left. So that's, a goal a game and then 1 to spare. I think it's definitely doable. That would be neat. But talking about the game itself, just the goalies deserve a lot of credit in this game for keeping it as low scoring as it did. Not because the teams were playing well, just because there was a lot of, like I said, incompetence. Defense was optional on both sides. The penalty calling was atrocious on both sides. There was 1 legitimate penalty called all game, and it was the one against Cole Sillinger right at the end of the third period. But the Gustav Nyquist trip was not a trip. I would have argued that Austin Watson's interference call was not an interference call, but I mean, like I said, I don't call the penalties. I just yell about them afterwards. So some interesting officiating. Despite that, only 2 goals were scored, 2 real goals, and then a shootout goal, which I guess technically counts as a goal, but I don't know if it counts as a goal in the actual stats of the season. So I don't think it does. But yeah, like I said, it was just, there was 3 competent players total. One of them was Jack Roslovic, who, like I said, scored his 20th of the season. Really good to see. That second power play unit was kind of by necessity all children. It was Roslovic, Justin Danforth, Cole Sillinger, Ken Johnson, and Nick Blankenberg. So 4 rookies and veteran Jack Roslovic, who's like 24, 25. So that's fine. I think mostly because everyone is injured, but I did really like that power play unit. I thought it was much more effective than the first power play unit. Obviously, they scored on that one attempt. They didn't score on the second attempt, but they came real close. Really good to see as well. While I'm talking about the babies, the Cole Sillinger, Ken Johnson, Justin Danforth line was extremely good. Cole Sillinger came this close to scoring like 3 times in the game. Kent Johnson was about an inch away from scoring his first NHL goal. He set a shot off the crossbar after just making a ridiculous move in the slot to get that shot away. Ended up getting a secondary assist, so he's at 2 points in his last 2 games, which is really good, really fun. And that was kind of it for the Blue Jackets. I do still think that the Nyquist, Roslovic, Bjorkstrand line, lots of fun. Probably objectively has probably the best of the underlying stats in the Blue Jackets game. I don't know if it was good, but it was probably the best that they have, which is two very different things when you look at the Blue Jackets underlying stats. But I spent a bunch of time yesterday or the day before, talking about Gus Nyquist and how good he's been this season. Jack Roslovic obviously is not slowing down. He's really taking advantage of this number 1 center spot. I thought he might drop off a little bit with Laine being out, but no, he's taking full advantage of being between Bjorkstrand and Nyquist, and that line was, like I said, that was just a lot of fun. And it should probably have gotten more offense than it did, but no one really got much of any offense. There was a lot of shots, but I don't think there was a lot of scoring chances. In a minute, we're going to take a look at the rest of the game. That third period, we're going to talk about how the Blue Jackets got an entire season's worth of carbon retribution in one offside call. But first, I will tell you about Shady Rays, because I love Shady Rays. I am new to the Shady Rays brand, and if you don't know who they are, they're an independent sunglasses company that gives you the features of $200 sunglasses for a fraction of the price. That means polarized lenses, well-constructed and durable frames, and premium high-end finishes. Also, something you won't find anywhere else is Shady Rays' insane protection program. Shady Rays includes lost and broken protection on every pair, and they will send you a brand new pair if you lose them, no matter what happened. So give them a try, and if you don't love them, you'll pay nothing. It's as simple as that. Plus, and this is really cool, when you shop with Shady Rays, they will donate 10 meals to fight hunger in America every single time. And exclusively for our listeners, if you head to shadyrays.com, use promo code LOCKEDON, all one word, to get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. That is code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for their best deal of the season. 50% off 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays sunglasses. And Shady Rays is backed by over 150,000 verified 5-star reviews. I keep meaning to wear my Shady Rays when I do these ad reads, because I got mine in the post a couple of weeks ago, and I love them. However, they are not here right now. I left them at work, but it's fine. Speaking of work, the Blue Jackets video coach has been putting in the work all season, and I think if they'd won this game, it would have been an MVP moment for Dan Singleton, who got the Kepi a couple of seasons ago for making an offside call on what ended up being the game-tying goal that was disallowed, and then it ended up being like that was the game-winning goal, was the goal that they were ahead by. So he got the Kepi for that. He's been around for a while. Anyway, all of the preamble is to say that the Ottawa Senators scored, immediately got challenged, and I was like, that's close. Well, it wasn't close. It was onside in terms of basic. That puck was the first thing over the line. However, because of a weird rule thing where the broadcast explained it during one of the intermissions, I think, because they were tagging up, it wasn't like the initial puck going into the zone. It was the puck came out and they all went back in. Brady Tkachuk was either getting on or off the ice into the zone. And even though he jumped and it wasn't, his feet weren't on the ice, it still counted as him being in the zone. So puck was offside. Goal did not count. The Blue Jackets keep their 1-0 lead. They live to fight another period. Unfortunately, Brady Tkachuk does Brady Tkachuk things. Just a really, really beautiful passing play from both Josh Norris and Drake Batherson, who are guys that exist. But yeah, that was nothing Elvis could do about that. I do have questions about what all of the Blue Jackets were doing on that passing play, apart from just kind of like standing and watching. But it is what it is. Sometimes a guy just decides to score a goal, a really good goal from Brady Tkachuk. Like I said, his 29th of the season. I also did like that the broadcast was immediately like, that's his 29th of the season, but his brother has 40 goals and 100 points over in Calgary, which did make me laugh, because even when you play on separate teams and your brother isn't even playing that night, you still cannot get away from your older brother. So I did think that was quite funny. So tied 1-1 at the end of regulation. And then what follows was possibly the most incompetent overtime I have ever seen. It was extremely fast-paced. I think there was like 2 or 3 whistles the entire time. 6 shots total in those 5 minutes. 4 for the Blue Jackets, 2 for the Senators. And it just kind of, it was kind of like watching pinball, or it was like kind of like watching junior hockey, actually, or like junior, like proper baby hockey, when it's, there aren't really any positions yet, and it's just like a blob of children following a puck around, and then the children all skate onto the puck, and the puck pops out, and all of the blob of children just follow the puck the other way. So that's how I felt about that overtime. Unsurprised that no one really got it done. And then, the coin flip, or the shootout, as I believe is the official term, as soon as Tim Stutzle started, I knew immediately. I was like, oh, that's going to be a goal. Sometimes you can sense it. And that was, in fact, a goal, the only goal of the shootout. Jake Voracek almost scored. Honestly, all 3 of the Blue Jackets almost scored, I think. The second attempt by Nyquist went, I think, off the corner of a pad and just wide. One of those ones where Jeff Rimmer is like, he beat the goalie, but not. And he didn't. He didn't beat the goalie. It bounced off of it skimmed off the edge of his pads, I think. The save on Voracek was just a really, really nice save. Philip Gustafsson ended up making like 34 of 35 saves, and then more in the shootout. He had a really, really good night. Elvis also had a really good night. He had one save on 6 shots. So both goalies very good, because neither team could remember how to score. A disappointing and frustrating loss, I think. But on the other hand, now the Blue Jackets are, officially out of the playoffs, you can kind of pay a little bit of attention to the standings in terms of, well, what's the draft position look like? And we talked about this a little bit yesterday. But that win for Ottawa, I believe, will either kept them above or pushed them above the Blackhawks It kept them above the Blackhawks. They're now 4 points clear, so it's unlikely that the Blackhawks cannot finish higher than 25th in the league right now. So they are basically guaranteed. I think they're basically guaranteed to be in the top 10. I think it could be a top 5 finish for them, which is great for us. As long as they don't get 1 or 2, then we're in the clear. So, it sucked to lose to Ottawa, but in the grand scheme of things, we want teams to be above Chicago. Ideally, we want teams to be above the Blue Jackets. If the Blue Jackets can manage to slip below Anaheim, then they have a shot of that first overall. But if not, I think it's probably pretty safe to say that they are not finishing above New York, the Islanders, or the Winnipeg Jets, who are just above them in the standings. And so they're still in the mix with the second overall pick, which could be fun and cool. In terms of that game, sure was a game. It would have been nice to win, and I do think that was the most winnable game the Blue Jackets had remaining in their schedule. The Blue Jackets have 4 games left. They've got 1 against Edmonton. They have got 2 against Tampa Bay. And they've got 1 against Pittsburgh. They have to play Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh back-to-back, which frankly seems unfair. I think the Blue Jackets could probably win one of those games just because hockey is dumb. Like, they might go crazy and win 2, 3, 4 of them. I don't think so. But my money is on the Blue Jackets playing spoiler to the Tampa Bay Lightning, which would be fun and neat. And that's kind of the all of the hard-hitting analysis I have for that terrible, terrible game. In a minute, we're going to check in on Corson Ceulemans, who is the 3rd member of the first-round draft class of the Blue Jackets last draft. Obviously, we've seen Kent Johnson and Cole Sillinger on the ice together, so let's I thought we would check in on Corson Ceulemans and see how his season ended up being. I don't think we'll see him in a Blue Jackets sweater next season, but I thought it would be fun to check in on him. But first, I'm going to tell you about BetOnline. And my betting advice is don't take advice from me, because clearly I don't know what I'm talking about. But the people who do know what they're talking about are all at betonline.net. It is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports information. You can find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Once again, that is betonline.net. And BetOnline is where the game starts. So let's talk Corson Ceulemans. He just finished up his freshman season at the University of Wisconsin. Had a pretty good season, all things considered. Drafted 25th overall last season, and he had 22 points in 34 games, which for a defenseman is pretty good. I would not be upset about that. Like I said, first year at the University of Wisconsin, but I would expect to see him go back for a sophomore year, potentially even a junior year. I don't think the Blue Jackets should rush him, especially, the signing of Nick Blankenburg, I think, has given them a little bit of wiggle room in terms of their defensive prospects. They can maybe keep guys like Jake Christensen in the AHL for a little bit longer. They can keep Corson Ceulemans in the NCAA a little bit longer. They're not in a hurry to rush their defensive prospects. Especially, I feel like the Blue Jackets have gone from having a really deep defensive prospect pool over the last, maybe 2 or 3 seasons. It's kind of been whittled away a little bit, which is disappointing. But like I said, the signing of Nick Blankenburg, kind of the emergence of Jake Christensen, picking up Jake Bean and Adam Boquist, who hopefully will be able to stay healthy next season, fingers crossed. I think they're starting to put the pieces back together, and I think it's given them a little bit of room to let Ceulemans develop at his own pace. We talked a little bit to Tony Ferrari about Kent Johnson, and should he have stayed in college for a season or not, or for another season? Gone back, done his junior year, and been like the guy at the University of Michigan. Because I believe of the guys, of the draft picks in the first round this season, or last season, I guess, I believe only Luke Hughes and Samoskevich are returning to Michigan. So, he had a real chance to be the guy there, decided to go pro, seems to be doing well. Like I said, the Sillinger, Johnson, Danforth line, a lot of fun. I would love Tim Bjorkstrand on that line just to really see what they could do. But I don't think Ceulemans is there yet. I don't know that he'll be there by the end of next season. Hopefully, he continues to grow and develop, and we'll see how he keeps on going. Like I said, he had a pretty good season at the University of Wisconsin. Every time I kind of checked in, I was impressed with what I was seeing. I didn't watch a ton of the University of Wisconsin games this season because there's only so much college hockey that I can watch, because I also watch the NHL and the AHL and the local leagues over here in England, and there's so much hockey all of the time. But anytime I did catch a University of Wisconsin game, Ceulemans impressed me. So the future feels pretty bright for him specifically, for the Blue Jackets defensive pool. I still would like it if they drafted a defenseman with their lower of the two or the higher of the two picks in the draft. I talked a little bit about this last week, I think, but if they could manage to swing Jiricek with the Chicago pick, I would be thrilled. I think that is a guy that you build around. That is a guy that you can put next to Zach Werenski. Maybe not this upcoming season, but next season. For all Seth Jones's faults, I think the Blue Jackets have struggled to replace him on that top pairing with Zach Werenski. Zach Werenski needs a guy to be paired with. I've liked seeing him with Jake Bean. I've liked seeing him with Boquist. He briefly was with Andrew Peeke. I think just by dint of Andrew Peeke being the only other healthy-ish defenseman that wasn't Vladislav Gavrikov. But I think he's much more suited to being kind of a second pairing guy. So to have a guy like Jiricek come in and play with Zach Werenski would be super cool. And then, 2 years down the line, bring Corson Ceulemans in, see where he's at, see what kind of shape the defense is in. But I'm not looking to see him in a Blue Jacket sweater anytime soon, but I will be keeping an eye on him, and hopefully he continues to develop and grow. And that's all I've got for today. But speaking of prospects, I will be sitting down later today, actually, with Patrick Bexell, who is a Habs Eyes on the Prize draft correspondent. He mostly pays attention to the European prospects, so we're going to be sitting down with him to talk about the draft-eligible Djurgårdens prospects, Liam Ogren, Noah Ostlund, and Jonathan Lekarimäki. Obviously, already talked about Kalle Odelius. So to get the other three Djurgårdens prospects will be fun to talk to, and we're going to really ramp up our draft coverage as the season starts to wind down. Hopefully, I would like to have 20 to 25 prospect profiles done by the time the draft rolls around. The lottery is on May 10th, so we'll know much more about where the Blue Jackets are likely to draft in a couple of weeks, which is very exciting. But like I said, that's all I've got for today. Tomorrow we'll be talking to Patrick about one of the Swedish draft prospects. Thank you for listening to Locked on Blue Jackets, or watching Locked on Blue Jackets if you are over on YouTube. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. If you are watching on YouTube, then my username is right down here if you are having trouble spelling it. And you can find Locked on Blue Jacket over at LO_Blue Jacket. You can find it wherever you get your podcast. You can find us on YouTube. We are free and available on all platforms, so make sure you check us out, whatever your preferred medium is. I'm going to finish up. I'm going to go and enjoy the sunshine. I hope that you also have wonderful weather where you are. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.